Thinking about insulating your tubular metal building, but unsure of which option is best for you?
Stick around and we're gonna break down all the insulation options that are best for your tubular metal building.
Welcome back, Pack. It's Anadela and David here once again to go over different information on our insulation for tubular metal buildings.
That's right. So today we're going to be going over the 3 options for tubular metal buildings, which of course it's going to be depending on the use of the building and of course your budget. Here at Wolf Steel Buildings, we offer 3 options for tubular buildings. One is a spray foam, the fiberglass, and also a reflective insulation. And we'll break down the pros and cons of that for you in this video. That way you can decide which was going to be the best option for you.
Correct. So we always mention, always depends on what is best for you and your pocket, but also your building. We already did a video on insulation that we offer for our other product line, which is our red iron buildings. Tubular, very similar, slight differences, but for the most part, the first 2, which is fiberglass and spray foam, about the same. The different one is going to be the solar reflective.
Yes, ma'am. So just keep in mind that, again, we mentioned this in the last video, but reiterated that our products are not a standalone products. They're part of, a Wolf Steel package to make sure that it goes through, smooth from start to finish. Like, for example, obviously our insulation, our overhead doors, permitting assistant, all goes hand in hand together to make sure that we give you a great outcome.
Correct. So one thing, I think we get a lot of comments on this, or also just customers who call in and they always ask us, hey, do you guys actually offer just spray foam? Or, hey, I have a building, can you guys come in and spray foam? Or, hey, I have a building, can you guys come in and do this? Or anything like that. Certain services like concrete you can get outsourced, but there's other things that we do not offer, which will be some of our services. But let's go ahead and get this video started, guys. Make sure to stick around.
Let's go.
Alrighty, David, first things first. So every client just has different goals, right? Some want comfort year round. Some maybe just need a storage. They don't really care too much for thermal control. And some are gonna okay, I want comfort, but I also really need it to look nice on the outside, things like that, right? Every building has different needs. Every client has different needs. So when we're thinking about those kind of things, you guys always mention, what are you using your building for? That allows you guys to steer the client in the correct, direction of what they need.
So I'll use a perfect example I had this morning. The client told me that he wanted 2-inch spray foam, this and that. Then I asked him, what are you using the building for? He's like, it's just a garage. Okay, are you gonna HVAC the building? No, and you really don't wanna spend money on that if you're not gonna be in it all the time. It's just a garage for your cars. Maybe this is your best option. So that's something you wanna take into consideration. But going back, here in Texas, metal buildings get really, really hot, especially during the summertime. Obviously, it's Texas. You just never know how hot it's gonna get. It's basically a giant oven. Personally, I prefer when it's winter. It's a giant ice box. Put on a jacket, you're fine.
I prefer the oven. I prefer the heat. So everybody has different needs, of course, right? So now, David, we get this question a lot. Why would a client incur this additional expense to insulate their building? Because I mean, we don't go over pricing here, but it is an additional expense. And it is expensive.
Definitely. So metal is just a natural conductor of heat. That means without the proper insulation, your building's gonna get really hot really fast during the summertime, and of course it's gonna get colder in the wintertime. So, but sometimes it's not just about temperature, it's about how effective you want your energy bill to be. The comfort inside and out of the building, the lifespan of your building, that's something that we have to take into consideration. So insulation helps with controlling condensation. Again, yes, metal's gonna naturally sweat. Reducing the energy. If you're gonna have HVAC in there, you wanna make sure you have the right insulation. If not, that AC is gonna keep going and going and going.
I think this one is really big, especially because it's like, yes, it's going to be more expensive right now, but if you think of one of the benefits, it's like over time, this is something that's going to save you on your HVAC costs.
Long term is going to save you a lot of money for sure, especially if you're going to try to be energy efficient. So on that same topic, reinforcing the certain insulation actually helps reinforce the metal building. The panels, it actually adds, a certain amount of strength to the actual metal panels themselves. And then it just makes more for a comfortable space.
Correct. Yeah. So honestly, again, whether you're using the building, anything from like a barn door, a garage, maybe just a shop like the client that you had this morning, storage, it's different needs. Insulation is something that I think every client should think about, especially here in Texas. But also, we have people who watch us from Florida, from the Midwest. I'm from Michigan, and that's something that we think about all the time as well. So we're going to be covering all of that, guys. And we're going to be giving you guys details for each option. So stick around. Alrighty, David. So let's go ahead and talk about our first option, which is spray foam.
Yeah. So like as we mentioned in our previous videos about spray foam, it's a polyurethane material that gets sprayed on as a liquid, but then it gets hard as it gets solid, you know, seal layers over all your panels.
Correct. So at Wolf Steel Buildings, we only used closed cell spray foam.
Yep.
This is actually a lot more rigid than the open cell. So most of the time we can actually tell, even with whenever you guys get pricing, we actually tell like, oh, are you getting open cell or are you getting closed cell?
That's a great point.
Closed cell is more expensive. We don't have it in front of us, but when we did go over our installation options for spray foam specifically, hopefully my team's popping it up on the screen because I did have them in front of us where you can tell the difference between
the density between both.
Correct.
Yeah.
So again, it means you're getting a product that is stronger, denser, and of course super effective.
Which has a lot of great benefits about it being dense. So going into the benefits for sure.
I would like to point out, sorry to interrupt you, but I would like to point out the R value. When we're talking about insulation, R value, very, very important. The R value that you get with our closed cell spray foam is R value 7 per inch. Definitely makes it for one of the highest ones that's offered in the metal building industry.
Yeah, definitely. So again, spray foam and all its benefits, it acts as an insulator, you know, a vapor barrier and a moisture barrier all in one. Plus it seals very well. It seals every nook and crevice inside that metal building, basically creating an armor for your building overall. It helps dampen sound, you know, especially during these heavy rains. You know, if you spray foam your metal building, it's going to guarantee an R value.
Yeah. I would like to point out, you know, I think someone asked on the other video that was a comment, well, how's it guaranteed? Even if you get, unless you get a really bad spray foamer, right? And I'm not wanting to talk bad about anyone, but with the other options that we're going to talk about, the R value depends on the installation of the insulation. And this one, as long as it's sprayed, that material is automatically insulating.
Yeah.
So just by the nature of it, again, it's liquid. So once it hardens and it seals everything, as long as you make sure everything's sealed, you're guaranteeing that R value that you have.
There's no airflow,
it.
nothing like that. So it's going to maintain that internal temperature that you guys
So
want.
that's what we mean by guarantee on there.
Yeah, definitely. Now, another benefit about spray foam is that it can always be added on at a later date.
Correct.
Spray foam, again, if it's not in your budget, tell us, hey, David, I want you guys to come back, but later on. Okay, great, not a problem. I'm going to do all my internal work. I'm going to do my electrical, things like that. Fine. Do what you got to do, and then we can always go back at a later date. So that's another benefit about it. Standard gauge here on tubular buildings are 29 gauge, and the good thing about spray foam, and again, the closed cell spray foam is going to add structural integrity to those panels, rigidity, strength, and you don't really have to upgrade to that 26 gauge panels, which
saves you on cost in that perspective.
Exactly, yeah. And it's also going to help with, you know, hail or damage to the panels.
That's actually a really big one. We do have a video on that. I think Ernie, our sales director, is in the video where should you be spray foaming before or after electrical? You just kind of mentioned that.
Yeah.
So there's a video on that, and then also in regards to if there's damage, this is kind of one of the offsets or one of the cons that is associated with spray foam.
Yeah.
Because if you're wanting to replace a panel, you're gonna have to cut through. Obviously, take off the panel, but you're gonna have to cut through the spray foam. So definitely something that can be a con for some people because it's like, that's just tedious work, and then it's also kind of expensive to be cutting through some of those things.
And having to go back to spray foam just one specific section, it can add cost because it's, you know, for the spray foamer's time.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then another big one is also, and the most popular one you mentioned when we were practicing, this is what we hear all the time, that it's spray foam can be not so pretty. We do mention always it depends on who. I think our team is great, so I think it looks beautiful. But also the color. Some people don't like that. Even if they do an amazing job, they're like, well, I don't like the color that's associated with it.
Yeah.
We do standard yellow, but we do offer upgrades. They are at an additional cost. It is white, black, and gray. We do have a video on that, which will be linked down below for you guys to check it out. There's a lot of different pros or cons to each color, and then also pricing is associated with those. So another big one is also going to be that it is a higher cost associated with spray foam.
Yeah. You know, here at Wolf Steel, the minimum we do is just 1 inch. It's ideal for your utility building, a workshop, storage space.
That client you had this morning.
Where I offered, you know, the 1 inch might be the best option because he's not actually going to HVAC the building. He's not going to be in there all the time. So 1 inch is a great option. Again, we do also offer 2 inch, which is ideal for people that are going to be in the building all the time. You know, maybe they're going to work in it. Maybe they're actually going to live in it. 2 inch is probably going to be your best option. So another thing is that spray foam can be customized based on your building usage. Again, you want to make sure you check into your code as well, because if your code requires specific R values, that's how we can better help you.
Yeah, and then I also just, again, goes back to your building use. What are you using your building for? Because sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to live in it, or oh, I'm going to be doing this inside of it. Some of those codes require you to have a specific R value. So that's kind of where we're going to be like, okay, well, this is how you want to do it. Our standard isn't open cell, but we do offer open cell depending on certain situations. And so sometimes we've had people who are like, oh, okay, well, hey, I'm going to do a freestanding mezzanine not attached to the building. They're going to go in there. They're going to be framing. So we have our closed cell. We did all of our closed cell, and then we come back and then we do the open cell in there. So different things.
Customizable.
Again, that's where talking to you guys is very, very important. We do mention one of the, I guess I wouldn't call it a hidden cost, but something that is associated with spray foam is the fact that our foam gap enclosures are added to the building. This is very, very important, especially for prep work in spray foam. And I guess what this can kind of even be associated as a con is you could have oozing, and that oozing is not pretty at all, because once you get it on there, this bonds to the panel. So it is very hard for you to take it off. At least without scratching or damaging the color of the panel, which is very, very important. It definitely has happened to us in the past. That's why we're really strict about our foam gap enclosures. But we've had to replace panels, which is additional cost, or even replace like doors because it gets on there and we can't take it off. And so things that are on there, we'll still, if you mention, hey, I want to get this building spray foamed later, these foam gap enclosures are added on there. If you're getting it right away, we will add it. Sometimes if for whatever reason, hey, I'm getting spray foam later, but you didn't mention to us and there's no foam gap enclosures, there is things that we can still do. But of course, it can increase the possibility of oozing.
So. Unfortunately, if it's not done correctly the first time, there's potential for problems later on down the road.
Correct. But we'll have several videos on this where we go over different things on spray foam, link down below for you guys.
Yep.
All right, David, second option that we offer is fiberglass. So this one's a little bit more traditional, I think. Well, I don't know. I feel like now spray foam was kind of surpassing that, but fiberglass was kind of like the one that a lot of people used to have. It is a non-combustible glass fiber blanket, and it has reflective barrier on one side and then that plastic backing on the other side. Plastic backing can be either white or black. I know it's very popular for your commercial projects, and you actually even did one that was like a combination of both, which looked really, really nice.
Some of the pros of the fiberglass itself is that it's actually faster to install. It's done during the construction process, so it's quick, it's moving, it's on right away. It also enhances aesthetics. I think I mentioned in the last video. Personally, I like it just because it's a clean finish look. It's that white backing, and again, one and done. And it's also non-corrosive. That's one of the big benefits of having that fiberglass.
Yeah, and I want to mention on your faster to install, right now we were practicing, that was one thing that you mentioned, was it's only installed on the vertical panels.
Exactly.
Tubular buildings. Tubular buildings you can do. Standard come with horizontal panels, but you can do an upgrade to vertical. And that upgrade to vertical has additional verticals and girts because that fiberglass is installed between the sheeting, the fiberglass, and then the framing, just like it is on our red iron buildings. And then of course you're also having to adjust your screws to accommodate to that.
Yeah, and another thing too, if you mentioned that it can sag.
Yeah.
So if it's vertical, it minimizes the sagging on there.
Correct.
So also for tubular buildings, we only do 2-inch thick. You mentioned the screws. If it's a little bit larger than that, there's screws that don't penetrate all the way through and also can create that oil cannon. Yeah. So
bulging even.
Yeah, you can definitely see it.
Which is depends on the color. Some colors can hide it, but some colors it's in your face, especially in the sun.
Yeah,
the sun is very big, and
black is the one that you can really tell. Right now we're having a lot of black buildings, which are pretty cool. But about the R value for the 2-inch fiberglass is an R6.7.
Correct. Yeah. So it's about 3.33 repeating if we go back to math, but about 3.33 repeating per each inch. So then of course when we do the 2-inch, it's added up.
I didn't know that.
6.7. Really?
Yeah.
Really? We talked about it in the first video. So fiberglass, guys, is a favorite amongst a lot of people, especially when they're talking about looks.
Yeah.
Again, big thing that people don't like about spray foam is the look. So sometimes they see this one and they're like, oh, this looks a lot cleaner. It opens up the space, especially with that white backing. So can just depend on looks, what you want the building for. Again, I think one of the biggest pros that I want to mention for fiberglass is what we mentioned was a con with spray foam.
Yeah.
If you ever need to swap out your panel, just go in there, take out the panel. Panels are about 3 foot. They are 3 foot wide. Just go in there, unscrew them, and
then put it back on, and you're good.
Yeah, so something that to take into consideration on there, but there is cons, David.
There is cons, yeah. There's a few catches here. So if you're going to install during your build, you can't add it afterwards like spray foam. Spray foam, like I mentioned earlier, will come back whenever you can do it or you want it. In this scenario, it's added when we add the panels. It's also absorbent to moisture, and again, enemy to any metal building is moisture. Unfortunately, fiberglass is a absorbent of moisture. And the maintenance is required over time. You know, there's chance of being punctured and losing its R value. So that's one of the cons.
Yeah, and then of course you mentioned the moisture, so that's something to take into consideration. So again, it is just a little bit more delicate than the spray foam. And one of the big cons that I do want to make sure that we mention is the fact that it is dependent on the installation. So if you're
Like anything.
Yeah, and that's with anything, but I think that the next one that we're gonna go over in this one, you're not guaranteed that R value if it has, like, maybe they don't fully seal the gaps or they don't install it correctly. It needs the way that it's like
Overlapped.
the overlapped
Yeah,
and
tape.
things like that. Those are little things that people don't realize, but you're over here paying this money for this installation and it's not giving you the R value that you require, right? Maybe if you get HVAC, it's not gonna help you as much as you would need it to. So again, big things to take into consideration. And then also it is a plastic backing. So we mentioned it in the last video and we'll mention it again. If you're doing anything, it's a workshop, you're moving things around. If you puncture it, again, you are losing that R value. Things to take into consideration when you're choosing which option is best for you.
Yeah, but overall, clients love it. They love how simple it is. The clean white backing is what really attracts people to it. Yeah, so especially for like a storage, and you don't really need a temperature control of the building, it's probably gonna, you know,
Be your
better.
best bet.
Best bet. But again, depends on what you're gonna use the building for.
So the last option that we offer here for tubular metal buildings only, so this is actually the difference between the two. This is the third option. It is called solar reflective insulation. It's a little different than what we used to offer, which is that radiant barrier. Radiant barrier is the most common in most metal building industries.
tubular industry.
Correct. And we actually have something pretty similar to what a radiant barrier would be. Best way I know how to explain a radiant barrier is that backing that you put in your cars for it to reflect heat. This is pretty similar to it, except it's a combination between that and the fiberglass. And the reason
This is a new product, right?
this is a new product, yes. So it is on our website already, guys, and you will also find information on it with
exciting.
PDFs on our website for you to check out. But what do I mean by it being a combination? So what this is essentially it still has that radiant, that reflective barrier on one side. It has a little bit of like fiberglass material, and then it has a white backing as well. So again, pretty similar to what is I would say it's a combination is the best way I know how to put it. So very, very important. The basic idea of this is reflecting heat away from the building still without it being absorbed. The three types of heat that it reflects is radiant, conductive, and convective heat. It's great for hot climates, perfect for Texas. And just metal buildings that are direct and indirect sunlight. And then of course it also provides that ideal thermal protection. You can do it alone and you can also combine it with fiberglass. So
Nice. So that's cool. So R value can actually reach up to 10.3 depending on how it's installed. Clients who are just trying to beat the sun a little bit, you know, they don't plan on running HVAC inside the building, they might go this route. But again, it all depends on what you're going to use the building for. On the downside,
the cons.
like everything, installation actually requires precision. So if it's not installed properly, you might not get its full R value, its full effectiveness.
Yeah, so again, we've mentioned this with and I will say, I can honestly say that goes with your concrete, that goes with your building, that goes with your insulation, pretty much anything that you do. Very, very important that you get the correct people, right? But in this case, when we're talking about insulation, it's ideal because if there's like metal buildings just naturally have openings. If you go inside a metal building, you're going to see light. Why? Because the panels have ridging. That's just how the panels work. There's little things that are going to show light. So that's also where the
foam gap
enclosures, thank you, are very, very important. It seals the building, helps seals it. In this case, you're sealing it with those, like this type of material. So again, if you don't really close that gap or anything like that, like the corners.
So we actually offer it as an option, even if you're not going to get spray foam for that exact same reason. So going back to insulating your building properly, topic of the video is that we offer options even if it's not just for spray foam.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very, very important for you to tell us or mention what it is that you're going to be using your building for. But let's go into the next segment, David. A lot of these customers, or a lot of our past customers, or what we've seen, are just basic knowledge that we've acquired throughout years of being in the industry. All right, David. So across the board, we've seen different clients anywhere, not just tubulars, specifically tubulars, what we're talking about. Any of these three options. What have clients said? What do we recommend based off experience that we know from the industry or just like working in the industry?
Yeah. So again, from our perspective, the main key question, what are you using the building for? You know, are you going to be living in it? Is it going to be office spaces? Is it a workshop? Is it a hangout spot? Is it just a garage? What is the use of the building? right? So for buildings that need like long-term care, if it's gonna be a house, a barn door, an office space, and you need that higher R value, maybe that's gonna be the best option for you. Something
The
with
spray foam.
The spray foam, yeah.
And then that one you can also combine. We mentioned it earlier, where you can do a combination depending on the framing and things like that. We can do a combination of our standard.
There's customization behind the spray foam,
yeah.
So definitely, if it's gonna be just like a garage, like a workshop, something that you're not really gonna be in there all the time, and you're trying to be more on the budgeting side, you might want to go with the fiberglass, the 1-inch spray foam, and the new product, solar reflective insulation.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, cool.
He's gonna have that down by the time that you guys call up here and ask
just
for that.
call me, I'll remember, and we'll get it. But like Ernesto always says, it all depends on your use of the building. We're just here to give you the information and the tools for you to choose what's best for you.
Correct. So everything just boils down to you. What are you using your building for, as you mentioned, but also budgets, right? So I would say most expensive being your spray foam, your fiberglass, and then your solar reflective. Fiberglass, I think sometimes that we think that it's cheaper. Material-wise, it's cheaper, but the installation is also what makes it about the same around the cost that we have for spray foam. But insulation, guys, is not the flashiest part of your buildings. I mean, the colors look nice, right?
I mean, if it's done correctly,
Correct.
It's pretty good.
We're talking about spray foam and then also the insulation. I think with your fiberglass, the two-tone looks good, but not your flashiest part, but definitely very, very important because it does make a difference on the inside of your building, which is where you spend a lot of your time as well. Yes, you see it every time you walk up, you drive up or anything like that with like the outside, the colors, the doors, things like that. But the inside is where you're actually doing all of the work, parking your car, whatever it is that you want to do, you're doing it inside.
You're spending your time inside, not outside
Correct.
the building. So whether your building is a weekend getaway, a home workshop, full-time living space, choosing the right insulation is going to impact your comfort, your energy bills, your longevity of your investment and your building. So let us know in the comments which one, would you choose and why.
Yeah, so this goes specifically for tubular metal buildings. If you have a tubular metal building, let us know. Or if you're getting one, let us know down below. What are the options that you like between these two? And of course, guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can watch more videos like this where we go over different projects to give you guys ideas, and also videos like this one, which helps educate you guys or give you guys insights on different options that we have or different options that are out there in the metal building industry. So to make sure that you make an informed decision. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Let's go.
What's up, Pack? Remember to stay up to date with everything that we're up to by checking out our social media. You can find us at Wolf Steel Buildings for behind the scenes action. We share our latest projects, update on what the team is working on, and all the exciting progress happening in real time. Don't miss out on the action, and remember to give us a follow.